In this DIY, we're going to show you how to change your pool filter sand and when you should change your pool filter sand. If you find that your pool is murky, you're having to do a backwash on a regular basis, or that your pool cleaner is struggling to actually function, then it's a good sign that it's time to change your pool sand. Remember, replacing your pool sand, you shouldn't do it any more frequently than every 2 to 3 years. The first thing you need to do is identify whether or not your pool filter is actually a 2-bag filter, 3-bag or 4-bag. It's very easy. Just look on the side and you should be able to find a number written on the side of the filter which will tell you if it's a 2, 3 or 4-bag. My particular filter is actually a 3-bag, so I've bought 3 bags from builders, as well as a pool filter sand extractor, a spare O-ring which I'm going to be using for the lid, and I've also got a filter gel which I'm going to put in at the end. It just helps to get rid of some of the dust which is obviously going to accumulate in the pool and in the filter after I put in the new sand. The first thing we need to do is backwash the pool filter sand. That way it releases the sand and makes it a lot looser and easier for us to pull that sand out and extract it accordingly. Now it's time to open up our cover. I'm going to remove all the screws and then take off the lid, and at the same time I'm going to put the screws back into their holes, that way stopping any debris or any sand from filling into those holes and making it difficult for me to assemble again later. I've put all my screws back in. Now if I look inside, straight away I can see the problem. I can see the sand is very loose on the outside, so obviously the filter's actually been channeling the water around the outside while the center of the filter is being caked together and that sand is actually not functioning as it should do. So all I need to do now is actually take the sand out and give it a good clean. Now you must be careful because there are filter fingers at the bottom of this filter and you want to make sure that you don't damage those, so just be gentle. A good tip is to fill this with water, as it just makes that sand a little bit softer and it helps extracting that sand and water mix out of the filter. There's an outlet pipe and breather on the inside of the filter which you must cover up with a plastic bag because you don't want any sand going down those pipes. That's all covered. It's now time to take the sand out. I'm going to make use of the sand extractor as I push it down into the sand, so I'm going to pull the handle, sucking the sand and dirty water up at the same time, and then I'm going to spit it out into a wheelbarrow. Remember, as you're pushing down into the sand, pull the handle up and make sure you don't damage those fingers at the bottom which are part of the filtration system. The next step is just to get that last bit of dirt and grime out. Give it a good clean with a sponge. It's now time to insert the filter sand. Now as you can see, the filter fingers are at the bottom. You are going to damage them if you put the sand straight in on the top. So it's a good idea to fill the filter up halfway with water and then put your sand in gently, and that way it can settle down neatly without damaging those filter fingers. Remember, when you're putting in the sand, allow it to go in gently, and as you get about half a bag in, just move it around and level it out, so spread it evenly over those filter fingers. I've got my last bag of sand into the filter, and as a double check, your level should be around about 75% full. As you can see, the water now is very dirty, very murky. Don't worry about this. This is just the dust from the new sand, and to get rid of it, we're going to backwash this filter. First of all, I need to replace the O-ring on my lid and then put this lid on top, fasten it down, and then we can start the backwash. Before you replace the lid, ensure you remove the bag and elastic band that you placed on top of the outlet. When fastening down the lid screws, go from one side to the other, that way distributing the load evenly on the lid. It's best to fasten the last bit of the lid with a hand screwdriver, that way you can control the load and don't over tighten. And now it's time to backwash the filter. Because you have replaced the sand with new sand, there is going to be a certain amount of dust residue coming into your pool. Make use of some filter gel, pop it into your weir, and that should sort it out. With that DIY of changing your pool sand finally complete, it's now time to relax and enjoy your pool with a lot less maintenance. Remember, you only need to do this every 2 to 3 years. Everything you need is available at your local builder's outlet. If you enjoyed this clip or found it useful, like it, share it. You can also subscribe to our channel.